Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, August the 20th, 2024. It is currently 12:11 p.m. Central Time, and I am coming to you live from the Theology Central studio, located right here in Abilene, Texas. Now, I know today I'm supposed to be using my broadcasting time to try to finish some things up, all right? Last episode, we're trying to take a step closer finishing up our discussion on revival. We need to work on Ephesians chapter 4. There's probably some other things that we need to try to finish up. We probably need to do a little bit more work in the book of Proverbs since we were going to focus on Proverbs for this summer. Summer is going to be over before we know it. So there's just a lot of things I need to try to finish up, but instead of finishing anything up, we have to talk about a very important question. Are you ready? I really want you to think about this. If you want, write this question down and ask other people about it. Are you ready? How much money does it take to be victorious in spiritual warfare? How much money does it take to be victorious in spiritual warfare? Some of you may be immediately shaking your head going, this is a stupid question. And I understand. But I'm not asking this question because, just because I'm bored and I have nothing else better to do. I have plenty of other things to do, but something is forcing me to ask this question. How much money does it take to be victorious in spiritual warfare? Now, we know when it comes to actual warfare, right, between armies and nations, it requires a lots of money, right? We know the Ukraine asking for all kinds of money and their ongoing war with Russia, right? We know that whenever it comes to war, you need money. So does that carry over to spiritual warfare? Hey, we're engaged in a spiritual war. We need money. If we're going to be victorious, we need money. Does that work, or does that sound absolutely ridiculous and crazy? Well, what do you think? Well, first, let's establish some basic things about, our spiritual war, right? Because we know the Bible seems to make it clear that we're involved in a spiritual war. We could go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober. Be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Now, please note, it says be sober, be vigilant. It doesn't say be active in fundraising. It doesn't say send out an email to get money. It just says be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in the faith. We are to resist him, to be steadfast in the faith. It doesn't say anything about money. Anything about money. It does not say anything. All right. I think that makes sense. I'm going to look up another one. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 10. So 1 Peter 5:8 does tell us that, hey, we have an adversary. We have the devil roaming about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. But it doesn't say anything about we need money in order to fight him, to resist him. It doesn't say anything about money. Now, another passage that's very famous, 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, we can start in verse 3. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Please note that our weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So do we need money in order to fight this warfare? Do we need money? What do we need? Do we need money to buy weapons? Do we need money to do what? What do we need money for? How much money does it take to be victorious in spiritual warfare? 1 Peter 5:8 clearly talks about that we have an adversary, the devil, but it doesn't say anything about money. Here in 2 Corinthians 10, it clearly talks about a war, but it says that our weapons are not carnal. We're using spiritual weapons. So do we need money in order to be able to accomplish this? And then we know the most famous passage, right? We know the most famous passage when it comes to spiritual warfare, right? Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6, starting in verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Doesn't say anything about money. Doesn't say do fundraising. Doesn't say anything like that. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God. I am to put on the whole armor of God. Now, the question is, how much does that cost? Oh, okay. I need money. I need a certain amount of money to be victorious in spiritual warfare because I have to buy this armor. Do I have to buy this armor? Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God that you may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand therefore. Having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Truth and righteousness. Do I have to purchase those? Where in Ephesians 6 would it say I need money? How much money does it take to be victorious in spiritual warfare? That is the question for this afternoon. Now, why am I asking this question? Again, you may think it's ridiculous. You may think it's utterly stupid. And you know what? There's a part of me that would agree with you. But, before we just throw out the idea, maybe, just maybe, the key to spiritual warfare, the key to being victorious, the key to waging a spiritual war that is victorious, that works correctly, is it requires money. Maybe your issue is you need money. Maybe my issue is I need money. Hey guys, help me fight this spiritual war by going to theologycentral.net. There is a donate tab right there. And if you're using the Church One app or Sermons 2.0, look for the Give tab and give me money, and I will be victorious in this spiritual war. I will win this war on your behalf. Give me money. Does that sound wrong? Does that sound fleshly? Does that sound sinful? Does that sound carnal? Does that sound ungodly? Or does that sound reasonable? Well, at 9:36 a.m. this morning, August the 20th, 2024, August the 20th, 2024, I received an email at 9:36 a.m. from the American Family Association, AFA. The American Family Association. All right, American Family Association, also connected to American Family Radio, AFR. AFR airs on radio stations all across the country. They're American Family Association and American Family Radio, very somewhat influential in certain elements of the evangelical world. There's no way to deny it, right? Now, I've always had my issues with American Family Association and American Family Radio because I believe they're more political than they are theological. And I've challenged people over and over, listen to American Family Radio from about 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and sometimes you'll think you're listening to Fox News. I subscribe to American Family Radio, their newscast. It comes out in the morning, comes out in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. It comes out like at four times a day, I think. And I subscribe to their podcast. It's 5 minutes of news, supposedly from a Christian perspective. Again, it sounds like Fox News. Sounds like Newsmax. Sometimes it sounds like Alex Jones. It does not sound Christian in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so I already have my issues with them, but I like to keep up with what they're doing because to me, they are the number one example of a politically hijacked Christianity, right? I think in some ways they promote a Christian nationalistic perspective, even though they would deny that. I think that's what they promote. So I received an email from them at 9:36 a.m. You want the subject line? Are Christians losing the spiritual war for America? Are Christians losing the spiritual war for America? Now, when we fight a spiritual war, are we fighting it for a country? Is that the war we're fighting? Does the Bible say, fight the spiritual war for America? Fight the spiritual war for China? Fight the spiritual war for Canada? I don't really know if that's kind of the way it's supposed to go down. I don't know if that's the war we're fighting, right? Okay. So that already got my attention. Are we losing? So I thought possibly that this email was going to outline how you and I as a Christian, how we're losing the spiritual war for America. And I'm like, okay, I want to see how I'm losing this war. Right underneath that subject line, we have their kind of little banner artwork, has the American flag behind it. And then it says AFA action. Action is all in red, all capitalized action. So this is one of their emails where they need you to do something. They're calling you to action. And a lot of times these emails will be like, contact your congressman. Do that. Usually it's political involvement. I know, shocking. Political involvement over and over and over. Okay, but it says, dear valued partner. Now, I don't know why they're referencing me as a valued partner, because I'm not their partner. I'm their critic. Okay. I don't know why they would think I'm a valued partner. I'm not giving you a dime. I don't know. Why are you emailing me that I'm a valued partner? But okay. I ended up on their mailing list somehow. Right? Here we go. First sentence. We are officially entering the most politically charged season in American life, the home stretch of a contentious presidential campaign. Now, immediately, I'm already concerned because the subject line is, are Christians losing the spiritual war for America? And the first sentence deals with politics. I already know there's a problem. All right? Okay. I don't care what's going on in the political world. I don't care, because as a Christian who's supposed to be theologically minded, my fight is not a political battle. It's not a carnal battle. It's a spiritual battle. And my weapons are not carnal. My weapons are spiritual. My weapons are not voting and boycotting and censoring and writing my congressman. That's not the war I'm involved in. All right. But okay. That's the first sentence. Second sentence, as we reach this critical juncture, I want to make sure we don't lose the big picture amid all the campaign clickbait and the partisan rhetoric. Okay, all right, good, okay. So maybe I jumped the gun there. Maybe that what they're going to do is like, hey, we don't need to get involved in all of that. We can't miss the big picture. So what is the big picture? Next sentence. We are facing a serious moral and spiritual emergency that won't be fixed overnight. All right, so we are facing a serious moral and spiritual emergency. Do you feel like we're facing a moral and spiritual emergency? All right, so it can't be fixed overnight. So what should we do? It will take long-term, persistent prayer and efforts from people like you and me. All right, so we need persistent prayer, and then we've got to do something. We got to put forth our effort. You and me, we got to put forth so what's our effort? What is this effort that we have to be involved in? What do we have to do? Because we are facing a spiritual and moral emergency. What should we do? Next little sentence or paragraph. Here we go. As a Christian husband and father, yet also a conservative activist who is part of an organization and a family that has been confronting this emergency in our nation for nearly half a century, let me make my perspective very clear. All right. So he's a conservative activist. They've been fighting this battle for a half a century. All right. Okay. How's the battle going? What have you been fighting? You've been fighting a spiritual war? What have you been doing? Okay, but let's see what the next sentence says. The political battles we fight as conservatives and the spiritual evils we fight as Christians are not separate issues. Oh boy. So political battles and spiritual evils, they're not separate. See the merging of the political and the spiritual? Hey, the political battles we fight and the spiritual evils we fight, they're not separate issues. Now we're merging the two. Already have a problem here. But okay, so what do we have to do? They go on to even double down. They are one and the same. Okay, they're the same. So we're fighting political battles and spiritual evils, and they're the same. So now we can, now you please note what you can do with this. Now you can obviously structure, you can frame all your political arguments as if you're fighting spiritual evil. So now you're always going to feel morally justified that your political perspective is always right because it's a spiritual thing as well. So this creates a major problem. So now you can frame your political enemies as your spiritual enemy. But all right, let's go to the next sentence. And I fear that we're in grave danger of losing the most important spiritual war we're facing as believers in America. Okay, we're in grave danger of losing the most important spiritual war we're facing as believers in America. We're in danger of losing the most important spiritual wars. We're in danger. Ladies and gentlemen, red alert, red alert, red. We are in danger. All right, so what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? It says we're in danger unless we change course now before the situation worsens. So we have to change course. Okay, what do we have to do? What do we have to do? Very next line is a hyperlink. If you are ready to join me on the battlefield, I need to hear from you today. Okay, wait a minute. All right. So he's on the battlefield. He's calling me to join him on the battlefield because he's on the battlefield. He's the spiritual one. He's fighting. So he needs me to join him today. All right. So how do I join him? How do I join him? Let me click on the hyperlink. Give now to help turn the tide in America's fiercest spiritual battles. No, wait a minute. Okay. So what he needs me to do is we're in grave danger. We're in grave danger, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a spiritual emergency. We're in a moral emergency. So what do I need to do? I need to give money to turn the tide in America's fiercest spiritual battle. So the way we're going to fight this spiritual battle is I've got to give them money. You think I'm joking? I've clicked on the link. Here's what it says. The enemy's lies about unborn life, gender, family, Israel, Hamas, and our constitutional rights continuing to have a death grip on millions of Americans, even pressuring many conservatives into silence. We are losing ground in the spiritual war for America right now, and Christian families must fight back before it's too late. We're losing ground. We've got to fight back. So how do we do this? You can help turn the tide. You can turn the tide today by donating to AFA Action Today. Your gift will unleash 3 powerful divisions to fight for families at full strength through legislative action, legal influence, and voter education. So here's how we turn the battle in the spiritual war. Are you ready? Here's how we fight the spiritual war. You give money to American Family Association, and then they're going to fight through legislative action, legal influence, and voter education. That's how we fight the spiritual war? By giving them money so that they can engage in legislative action, legal influence, and voter education? Donate now to turn America back to God. Now, if I donate money to them, we're going to turn America back to God by donating money to the American Family Association so that they can engage in legislative action, legal influence, and voter education. And that's going to turn America back to God. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolute financial scam. These people are heretics. That is not Christianity. They're ripping people off. You don't turn America back to God through legislative action, legal influence, or voter education. American Family Association is an absolute fraud. Here's how much they want to give. They want me to give. I can give $25, $50, $100, $250, or I can make my best gift. And I can make this a monthly donation. Now it says donate now, and immediately if I just click donate now, it's immediately going to, the starting gift is $50. I don't have words for how upset this makes me. This is an absolute fraud. This is what this is. This is just messed up. This is fleecing the flock of God. That's what it's doing. This is wrong. You're going to tell me that we're on the verge of complete spiritual catastrophe. It's almost over. It's a red alert. It's an emergency. We've got to turn people back to God. And how are they going to turn people back to God? Let me read their words again. They're going to turn the people back to God through, hang on, let me go back to the link. They're going to turn the people back to God through legislative action, legal influence, and voter education. None of that has anything with turning anyone back to God. They don't mention the gospel. They don't preach, teach, nothing. This is all political nonsense. This is a arm of the Republican Party fleecing Christians for money. Now, I'm not saying they're actually connected to the Republican Party, but obviously all they ever support is Republicans. That's what they support over and over and over and over again. But the thing is, they think political involvement is how we're going to turn people back to God. And how are we going to do that? By giving them money. There is not one verse in the Bible that talks about spiritual warfare in terms of how much money you need to engage in it. Now, the email after that first hyperlink, they add this. The fact is, our task is not just to change minds on political issues. It is to change hearts on a spiritual level to turn them back to God. Now, see, now they're going to use good language. That is true. We need to change hearts on a spiritual level to turn them back to God. But you're going to do that by getting my money so that you can engage in legislative action, legal action, and voter education? Well, you're not going to change anyone's heart spiritually through those three efforts that you want my money for. It says, now the fact is, it says, think about the various evils our society is justifying now. Sacrificing millions of precious unborn lives to the idol of women's health. Harboring sympathy for Hamas terrorists instead of defending our ally Israel. Jeopardizing the safety of our families by refusing to secure the border. Celebrating the destructive hedonism of the LGBTQ agenda. Endangering future generations by poorly stewarding our inflating national debt. These are not merely political issues. These are spiritual emergencies. And until hearts and minds turn back to God, society will keep reaping the moral evils that it is sowing, whether Americans realize the spiritual implications or not. So how do we turn the tide on these important battlefronts? How do we help turn hearts and minds back towards God and restore our nation's biblical foundation? We start by treating this as an emergency, like the spiritual warfare it truly is. Hey, what do? We got to see that this is an emergency. We're in a crisis. Destruction is imminent. We've got to do something. Now, so far, only thing they've told me to do is to give them money. Let's see if they're going to offer something else. Oh, they mentioned prayer, but in passing. All right. It's time for our churches to stop being lukewarm and start realizing the political and social impact that they can have by standing for the truth. It's time for our politicians to stop being lukewarm as well and realize the spiritual and moral impact that they can have standing for principles instead of poll numbers. It is time for conservative Christian families to do our part to stop the spiritual erosion of our nation by stepping on the battlefield and taking action. All right. So, hey, churches, don't be lukewarm. Right? Basically, get involved in politics. Politicians, be a better politician. Hey, Christian families, do your part. Stop the spiritual erosion by stepping on the battlefield. How do you step on the battlefield? Right underneath that section, that sentence, guess what they have? Another hyperlink. That's where that takes us once again to donate money. Give now to help turn the tide in America's fiercest spiritual battles. So they've already now provided 2 hyperlinks so that I will give them money so that they can win the spiritual war. And how are they going to win the spiritual war? Legislative action, legal action, and voter education. This is total. This is blasphemous is what this is. All right. Then they have another sentence underneath that hyperlink. AFA Action is leading the charge on these issues, and not to score political wins. Our focus is on fostering long-term generational impact. The spiritual battles won't end in November, no matter what the election results are. That's why I believe American Family Association's actions tied and true approach, leveraging our long-establishing influence on multiple sectors of society, is the most effective investment you can make in responding to the emergency right now. So the most effective investment you can make in this spiritual war is to give them money. This is so bold-faced. And then right underneath that, another hyperlink. Your gift today. If you click on that hyperlink, give now to help turn the tide in America's fiercest spiritual battles. So that is now 3 hyperlinks to give them money. Now, if I give them today, we'll help our 3 divisions fight, developing airtight legislative protections, building a list of vetted or proven judicial nominees, and forming and mobilizing millions of voters. What they're going to do is all political, legislative, and legal. Then, after do that, there's another hyperlink. Give now to help turn the tide in America's fiercest spiritual battles. So far they have now given me 1, 2, 3, 4 hyperlinks. Oh, wait, right underneath that? No, 5 hyperlinks. Armed with your prayers and support, we will win over hearts and minds and turn our wayward nation back to biblical values we hold dear. Then, underneath that, give now to help turn America back to God. Another hyperlink. The email is riddled with hyperlinks saying we're in between. We're in a spiritual emergency. It's all over. We're all going to be destroyed. It's the end. But how can we win? By sending them money. Ladies and gentlemen, if that is the Christianity you support, and if that is the Christianity you think is biblical, then I'm finished. I'm done. Let me out. I want nothing to do with this Christianity. This is not Christianity. It is not biblical. It's not theological. It's a political scam for you to give money so that they can be involved in politics and think that they're going to turn people back to God through legislative actions, through legal actions, through voter education. You're not turning anyone back to God that way. No one. You're liars. You're heretics. Your whole thing. You're fleecing the flock of God, and it should be condemned, and it should be called out, and no one should support American Family Association. I'm done. I don't even know what words to say. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. No passage in the Bible says money is required to be victorious in a spiritual war. And you have to be the most arrogant group of people on the face of this earth to turn on or to send out an email, or I haven't listened to the station in a while. I don't know if they're saying it on the station, but let me make it very clear. You got to be arrogant to think, hey guys, hey, we're in a spiritual crisis. We're in a spiritual emergency. Destruction is there. And we need to fight the spiritual war. And what do we need? We need you to give us money so that we can do it on your behalf. That would be me turning on this microphone saying, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a spiritual, theological crisis. Heresy is running rampant. False doctrine has infiltrated the church. And this broadcast serves as a beacon of truth. And if you want us to help fight the spiritual darkness, send me money. Now, some ministries do that almost give that little propaganda that I just gave. Now, money is required for ministry to function. I understand that. But money to fight a spiritual war? No, I need money to broadcast. I need money to pay bills. Like, let's not try to spiritualize it. I need money because, well, a Spreaker just charged me. That's $20. Okay, so I just had to pay that. I don't know how many more days until I have to pay $60 for Sermons 2.0. So I have to pay, but that's where money goes to pay those bills. To frame it as, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to lose our nation. We're all going to basically fall off the cliff and plunge into the abyss. And how can you help? How can we stop this? How can we turn back? Send me money. And you know what's sad? Let's just look. Let's see if we can find out. I don't know if I can find out. Let me just look. I'm curious. Hang on. Hang on. I'm going to look something up. Let's just see here. See if I can find out. All right, you ready for this? The American Family Association typically brings in around $18 million annually from donations. In recent years, donations have accounted for approximately 84% to 95% of their total revenue. For instance, in 2019, AFA received about $18 million in contributions, representing 84% of their total revenue of $21.5 million. Their revenue slightly fluctuates but remains within this range. AFA's finances are largely sustained by these donations, along with smaller amounts from investments, royalties, and property income. $18 million they bring in because people are giving them money to turn the country back to God? To stop the spiritual emergency, to stop the spiritual erosion, to win the spiritual war. $18 million a year. I don't have words for it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. There is what's going on in the world of Christianity. Most people don't care. Most people won't say anything about it. No one's going to criticize it. Hey, American Family Association, if they hear this, they'll get ticked off at me. But hey, you sent me the email. I didn't ask for your email. You sent it to me. I definitely didn't sign up for you to send me emails asking for money for your so-called spiritual war. $18 million. Give me a break. What could I do with $1 million? What could I do with $500,000? What could I do for $400,000, $300,000? What could I do for $100,000? This is, look, if you don't believe this, then I'm sorry, you've lost, you're just confused. I don't know what else to say. Christianity, Christianity, the truth of Christianity about Christ, okay, that's one thing. But Christianity or churchianity, ministries, buildings, churches, all of that, whether you like it or not, it's one giant business where God and Jesus is the product they sell. The moral reformation of the country. It is that's what this has turned into. It's a business. It operates as a business. We got to bring in new people. We got to bring in new people. We got to bring in money. We got to build new things. We got to have activities. We got to keep people happy. Bring in more people. Bring in the money. Bring in the money. Bring in the money. Bring in the money. It's a vicious cycle. It's no longer, as much as we want to, we wrap it in a robe of religiosity. We wrap it in a robe of spirituality. But it's money, 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 money. Now, I do understand it takes money for ministries to operate. I know that. But once money gets involved, it's inevitable that it can operate as a business. I know that. I struggle with this podcast. Now, once this was much more connected to a church, the church basically took care of everything. As that's winding down, then how do I operate? I don't know. So I understand the difficulties and how does that work? But man alive, so much of Christianity is just one operated business where billions of dollars go through it. Think of all the money that goes to churches each year. How much money goes to, look up your favorite ministry and see how much money they bring in. Look up John MacArthur's ministry, how much money comes in every year. Renewing Your Mind with R.C. Sproul's ministry. Just look at the ministries and look up how much money comes in every year. The numbers are utterly staggering. And in many cases, the best you get from some of these ministries is a 25-minute program that airs Monday through Friday. That's all you get for millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. You get a 25-minute little radio spot. That's what for millions of dollars. And Christians just throw the money at it. Or someone sitting it could be in a broken down room with a microphone and a computer could broadcast 5 hours a day and nobody will support that. But you got to have celebrity. If you have celebrity, boom, money. If you have a name like American Family Association, $18 million come in. If you have a name like John MacArthur or R.C. Sproul, millions of dollars will pour in. For what? For a 25-minute little edited sermon? I mean, it's a sermon. All they are edited sermons. They have the voice introduction and the voice outro, and they just take a sermon preached at a church, and then that's what you're paying millions of dollars. That's what millions of dollars are coming in to support? You just look up your favorite ministry, how much money comes in. Just by all means, look it up. $18 million a year to fight a spiritual war. Well, what's happened? You've been doing this. I think they said, I don't even know how long American Family Association is. Hang on. What year did the American Family Association begin? 1977. They've been fighting supposedly the spiritual war since 1977. Well, what happened? $18 million a year? What have you done? What have you accomplished? Because now we're in a spirit. You've been fighting it since 1977, but now in 2024, we are in an emergency. It's a erosion emergency. It's all, the end is near. And what do you need? You need more money. Well, how much more money do you need before you win the war? $18 million. Give me a break. And what are you going to use that $18 million for? politics, legal challenges. I have no words. I wish I could say something profound. I would just say, go read 1 Peter 5:8, read Ephesians 6, read 2 Corinthians 10, and you tell me how spiritual war is to be fought. How much money does it take? You tell me. Thanks for listening. Everyone have a great day. God bless.